And again, this was just days ago on Saturday. You see him here shaking hands with some of the members who are riding on the University of Houston float. The Houston Police Officers Union sharing this statement this morning. The HPOU mourns the loss of Congressman Turner, a steadfast advocate for our city. His unwavering commitment to public service and dedication to improving the lives of Houstonians will be deeply missed. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family at this time. Joshua Martin, who is the U of H student body president, shared this picture of him with the former mayor. He says, Turner was one of the nicest humans he's ever met, always positive, always uplifting, and always walked within the light of God. One of the best Houston has ever known. Rest in peace. And I'll share one more here for you. This is the former Harris County Houston Sports Authority CEO, Janice Burke. Mayor Turner was always at the big sporting events. You could always see him at the Astros games, Texans, Rockets. Whenever there was a big moment in Houston sports, he was there. And so she says, thank you, Congressman Turner, for your unwavering commitment to the service and for believing in the potential of every individual. You will be deeply missed, but never forgotten. Your legacy lives on in the hearts and actions of those who strive to follow in your footsteps. So just some of the pictures and memories that are being shared this morning, hours after we learned the former state representative, Houston mayor, and congressman for just a few weeks has passed away.
Sally, thank you. He certainly leaves behind a great legacy. And, he, of course, did attend U of H and Harvard. U of H's president tweeted this morning that U of H mourns the passing of Sylvester Turner and that his legacy will live through those whose lives are better because of his leadership. But he developed so many relationships, including with many of us here at the station and our very own Nate Griffin, who knew him for more than 30 years. So we want to check in with Nate and hear more, from his reaction. Nate, I know this is pretty tough for you and so many others, but can you talk about some of the memories that you shared?
Yeah, I got to lighten it up a little bit, because if I don't, I'm going in the tank. But I would tell you that, he thought he was an athlete. He's trying to play tennis against an athlete. And this was when we were really young. I'm not old, I'm not saying that, but he wanted to play tennis, so I said, okay. So we used to compete on the tennis court. I won't tell you how those ended, but I will tell you, he had really good feet. He could move on the court. There was no question about that. I knew that his mind was sharp because of he having attended the University of Houston. And once again, I believe he graduated summa cum laude and then going on to Harvard and getting his law degree. And many of you may remember him from having his law firm, Barnes & Turner. He had a very successful law practice downtown before he even thought about getting into politics. And oftentimes, I would go to his law firm and I would see what he was doing, and you could tell this man was going to be successful. In fact, he had to defend me a couple of times during those days. Just saying, okay? But yeah, Sylvester lived for the community. He loved his community, Acres Home. If you mentioned that he was from the north side, he would quickly correct you and say, hey, I'm from Acres Homes. I'm from the Fofo. And that was no joke. When he continued into his political campaigns, he would talk about being from the Fofo. That's what he would say. So he loved the people from the Acres Home area, loved them to the day he passed away, I would assume. Once again, a great friend, many friends. Many of his friends were former athletes as well. One of them, Jimmy Solomon, who worked as vice president of Major League Baseball for a number of years under Bud Selig. And of course, he was from the Booth, Rosenberg area where my wife is from as well, so they knew each other. But yeah, they were all very good friends. And the one thing about Jimmy also attended Harvard with Sylvester, so they were obviously classmates. But yeah, Sylvester Turner, one of the brightest guys you'd ever want to meet. He always had some wit. I mean, you could never catch him off his feet. He was always on his feet with his wit. Very, very smart. And that's why he was able to get through where others may not have been able to get through, coming from where he came from. A member of the church, obviously was in Antioch, and I want to say it was New Faith. He was a member of New Faith Baptist Church, if I'm remembering correctly. If I'm not, please correct me on social media, but I believe he was a member of that church. We went to different churches. I was a member of one church, and he was a member of another. But yeah, he was a deeply, very faithful man. Loved his family, loved his former wife Cheryl, loves his daughter. Loved his daughter very much. In fact, he was crazy about her, like most fathers are. But nothing that I can remember about Sylvester that he did that would have disappointed me or that disappointed me. Everything that he did at first class. Education, professionally, he did it all with class. And I love the fact that we remained friends even after I got into television, even more so where I am now. If I called him and I needed him to talk sports, he would always come. If I needed him for a Zoom, he would always be there for the Zoom. But he liked to show up in person. I mean, he wasn't shy. He loved the camera. So I mean, he loved the camera. When I was at Sports Radio 610, always came on with me there. When I was at ESPN 97.5 with Patrick Creighton, came on the show there. In fact, if I remember correctly, that's when he won his first term as mayor. He came right on over and joined us like a day or two later. So it was kind of cool to have him on with us. So yeah, nothing but great memories, fond memories of Sylvester. I can't tell you everything. It's all good, but I mean, we spend probably days talking about some of the things, but those are the memories that I can certainly relate to you and let you know that what you saw is what you got. Sylvester was real. There's no question about that. A man of the people, a man of the community. I love him. I'm going to miss him. Guys?
Well, thank you for sharing that, Nate.
Yeah. He's also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity,
right, yeah.
Proud member, Proud Alpha. I was saying I emceed moderated the panel that he was on, and he knew that I was a Kappa. This was my first time meeting him in person. And he joked about, yeah, brother, you a Kappa. You know, we were just talking, obviously the Greek life banter there, but very sharp, witty individual. He watched us, actually, he would say, because that's how he knew that I was a Kappa. So he was very, obviously me still being fairly new to Houston, he was very new, very, very welcoming to me here. And it was astonishing when we first heard the news because I was so shocked to hear this. Yeah,
I think we all were because, you know, we knew that he had battled, you know, rare bone cancer, but he was cancer free. And so, you know, a lot of folks were hopeful that he would still be able to continue his work, you know, throughout the country. So definitely a sad time, but we have our Greg Grugan here, our political reporter, who certainly spent a lot of time covering the former mayor at the time, Sylvester Turner. You know, what would his colleagues and opponents say about him?
You know, he was a ferocious campaigner. He was a daunting opponent. Ask any of them. And if you took on Sylvester Turner, you better pack a lunch because he's going to take you to the limit. I think that we need to talk about Sylvester Turner's leadership during our weather emergencies. And we have had some doozies. You know,
freeze,
Hurricane Harvey, the winter storm, and COVID, of course. All extraordinarily challenging situations for a mayor in a strong mayor system. He had to make many calls. Most people feel like he did a very good job of guiding the city through difficult times and challenging events. None more challenging than Harvey. None more challenging than the pandemic and how to protect people, how to collaborate with the feds, the state, the county. And I think that's where he was at his best, when he was leading during a crisis, because people would follow him. He was a trusted face, a trusted voice. And I think when we start talking about his legacy, that is something that deserves a great deal of attention because, Denise, you know for sure, it's been a crazy decade.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Harvey was something, trillions of gallons of rainfall. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then running a major city during COVID with population density and challenges with folks who did not have a lot of resources. He was a good and oftentimes great leader in those situations.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people, especially obviously in the Democratic Party, really trusted his leadership, even looking back on the transition from Sheila Jackson Lee to Sheila Jackson Lee's obviously her daughter Erica Lee to his leadership there. I remember speaking with people when they were trying to determine who to put on the ballot to obviously then be the next person to run for her role. And so many people trusted his leadership, obviously because of his longevity.
Yeah, it's proven work.
Yeah, in the state house, as mayor, you look at those, especially this is nothing to dismiss those who ran against him, but comparing his leadership and his history to his opponents, it was hard to really argue that.
Yeah, I mean, our current mayor, John Whitmire, likes to say relationships matter. And Sylvester Turner had thousands of relationships that he could draw upon. He could pick up a phone and get action, to have conversations, the important conversations for our city, to get resources when necessary, to try to settle disputes. He had that capacity, and I think he used it when he felt appropriate. This is a strong mayor form of government here in Houston. Even his opponents would say Sylvester Turner was a strong mayor. He used every bit of that power to do what he felt was right for the city. They may not have agreed with it, but he used that power to do what he believed was right for the people of Houston. And I think that will also be part of his legacy.
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly a fighter. Even after his health scare with bone cancer, he continued to be impactful. I mean, he was 70 years old, 70-year-old congressman. What impressed you the most, covering him over all these years?
I think that there are those in public service to where public service and serving in office becomes intertwined with their very character and their being. And that's why Sylvester Turner, after term limited, he said he'd run for mayor again if he had the opportunity, felt like he had more to give. He had more to give. Sheila Jackson Lee was a close friend of his. It was a great personal loss when she passed. And I felt like perhaps he felt the best homage to her, the best way to honor her was to continue her work until the next generation of leadership for the 18th Congressional District was ready to go.
You said it best when you said you have to look at his leadership during a lot of the historic weather events. It's not easy to serve as mayor in any city, especially in the city of Houston, but especially when you think about Hurricane Harvey, when you think about the deep freeze. That is a tough role to be in when something like that catastrophic happens.
Well, you're making life and death decisions for people. Yeah. If you make a mistake, people can pay for it with their lives. Yeah. And none of us are perfect. But I think he did a good job of taking in the information from the key personnel, the first responders, and making hard decisions that in the moment were appropriate with his best judgment.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Greg, thank you so much. We know it's just a tough day for so many people, so we appreciate you taking the time to.
When you serve as long and as thoroughly as he did, you touch literally millions of people. And so I think today, individual Houstonians, there will be the vast majority who have some personal moment with this mayor. And so we'll be thinking about those moments, the good and the bad, over the next few weeks.
Yeah, in your political career, obviously, you have to cover the good and the bad with him.
Absolutely.
Either way. And that's what we do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
6 is your Stream now on Fox Local.
We are back now with continuing coverage here as we have learned that Sylvester Turner, former mayor of Houston, current congressman representing the 18th congressional district, has died at the age of 70 years old. And it is sending shock waves across the city with so many people posting their condolences, their well wishes, their thoughts and memories of him. I was just reading something from Bun B, actually. Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah, he has just impacted the lives of so many people, had so many relationships. And so we, want you all to share some of your memories of former Houston, Mayor Sylvester Turner with us throughout the morning and the day. Of course, we'll be covering this, all day, as we are still, working to find out the cause of his death. He passed away at the age of 70 years old.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with bone cancer in 2022. He underwent, I believe it was a 9-hour surgery on his jaw, and then continued working after that.
Yeah, he was cancer free.
And
so
this was in the middle of his term as mayor. So he continued his work, moved on obviously to then win the 18th congressional seat. Bun B just posted here on Instagram about Sylvester Turner saying, "Proud to have stood with you in the trenches fighting for the rights of our citizens. Proud to get to know you on a personal level. Always a smile, always a laugh. Always in good spirits. You were the shining light of the Acres homes. My condolences to your friends and family. May your legacy stand the test of time. Rest in peace." That's from obviously Houston rapper icon here in the city, Bun B. And
I'm sure a lot of people share that same sentiment. I mean, he was so proud of his city and his hood,
the fofo
home. Yeah.
Yep. So. And his relationships, Greg was saying this, relationships matter. And he had so many relationships. Being from Houston, serving in the Texas House, serving as mayor, you can't help but build relationships during that type of longevity. So he had relationships with so many people across the city, across the state, across the country, quite frankly, especially when you deal with some of the major disasters we've dealt with. You have the relationships with the White House, you have the relationships with the people that you need in times of need like that, and even across the city with leaders here.
Yeah, I mean, he was a proud father and grandfather, and so we want to take the time to take a look back at his life and legacy.
Sylvester Turner has been a Houstonian since day one. He was born on September 27, 1954, in the Acres Homes community in Northwest Houston. He was one of 9 children raised in a modest 2-bedroom home in the community. He lost his father to cancer when he was just 13 years old. With limited means, he didn't let his circumstances define his future. He was senior class president and valedictorian at Klein High School. He later went to University of Houston and Harvard Law School. He was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. After joining the law firm of Fulbright and Jaworski, he later founded Barnes & Turner Law Firm.
I recognize you for the point of making a personal privilege statement.
In 1988, Turner was elected to the Texas House of Representatives for Texas Houston District 139. He served that position for 27 years and worked on the Houston Appropriations Committee for 21 years and served as Speaker Pro Tem for 3 terms.
And of this day,
so help me God.
So help me God. We are all Houstonians, and we all deserve the right to improve and move forward together.
In 2015, he was elected as the 62nd mayor of Houston. Mayor Turner was re-elected for a 2nd term in 2019. During his 8 years, he arguably dealt with the most any mayor has handled in the city of Houston. He was with the people, right there on the ground during Hurricane Harvey, day in and day out. He was a crucial factor in the city's rebound from the storm, and he championed historic pension reform. On the energy front, he launched Houston's first climate action plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
Regardless of where you come from, the language you speak, your religion, everybody can root for the Houston Astros.
He cheered on the 2017 and 2019 World Series champions and hosted a very successful 51st annual Super Bowl in Houston. One thing he always said and lived by was it matters not whether you are a Democrat or Republican, or whether you're black, brown, white, or Asian, whether you're rich or poor or in between, whether you're educated or uneducated. What matters to me is that we are all Houstonians, and we will stand and work for Houston for its future. Mayor Turner will always remain not just a Houstonian, but be known as one of Houston's heroes.
Maybe want to know in there too, this was put together
beforehand,
prior to him winning the role to serve in the 18th Congressional District, following up after Sheila Jackson Lee and Erica Lee Carter there. So he served, on a state level, on a city level, state level, and then obviously on a national level here. And when you talk about the city level, City Council already reacting to this. Here's Councilwoman Carolyn Evans Shabazz with this. Let's listen in.
Was fighting very hard, and just to look at him, he looked healthy, but you just never know what's lurking in your bodies. I don't care whether it's cancer or just the fact that you get called home for whatever. It could be natural causes, but I'm so blessed to have served with him. He was a person who had the common touch. I think that's so important. You can be elected, but if you have distanced yourself from the people that you serve, then I don't think that you're effective. And he never distanced himself. He lived in the community that he served. He was someone that you could talk to. And now I used to text him because, he could really talk. And so you want to get your point in, right? And so I say, well, I'll make you read. Okay, 1, 2, 3, read. And so I would send him these texts, and he would respond. I don't care what time of the day or night, he would respond. And even if we disagreed, which was very, very unusual, at the end of the day, we could always share a laugh. And my last time that I saw him was about a week and a half ago. I mentioned to him after leaving a meeting that a friend had a stroke and that she was not far. And he said, I'm going to go see her today. He actually got there before me. And just my personal experience, my brother was terminally ill, and I was having trouble getting him into a medical facility, and he helped us to give my brother quality of life. And so I just...
Well, we will have much more coverage on the many, many years of service from Sylvester Turner and the impact that he had on so many people over on our Fox Local app.
Yeah, and then I'll see you back here for the news at noon, where the coverage continues there. Have a good afternoon, a great morning and afternoon.
Fox 26 is your
Rodeo Houston is underway, but you don't have to bust your wallet. I'll show you how to lasso savings and corral those costs. Americans leave $370 on the table every year. The March 15th deadline fast approaching to cash out your flex spending account. A new farmers market has opened in Bel Air, aimed at lowering costs for farmers and you. And yes, they sell eggs. And we're going to take in the beauty of Mexico, where more Americans are now living and enjoying a much lower cost of living. And welcome to Dollars and Cents. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm your host, Heather Sullivan.